Alrighty, welcome on into this battle between sathdresh and frantic32 with some CV2 randomizer. I am Dan Carnett, and with me we have the illustrious Billick.
Hey Dan, we've got two great runners here. sathdresh, veteran of CV2 and CV2 Rando, and Frantic, who's been playing the Rando for a couple years now. So this should be a fun race, and hopefully we can see a nice showcase of this randomizer.
Yeah, this is gonna be a battle. Interesting to see how it's gonna go. So at the beginning of a randomizer, what is your typical route? Because everybody likes to do stuff a little bit differently here.
Well, personally, I like to do a grind at the very start, which is, I think I'm the only one who does that, but most people want to check out what the items are in the starting town, which I'm expecting Sath and Frantic to do here.
Okay. Yeah, and it looks like we are underway here. Things will be synced up here momentarily.
Yeah, we got Sath checking out the vendors here. You got 3 vendors in the starting town of Jova, and you're hoping to get some good items to help you out along your way. We see the cross here. That's a required item to finish the game, but not something that necessarily helps you early game.
It looks like we got the dagger for that second one. Ooh, oak stake.
Oak stake, always nice to see in the starting town. The oak stake is required to break the orbs in the mansions. There are 5 orbs, 1 in each mansion. So you want to have one of those on you at all times when you're going into mansions to make sure you can get the item that's there.
Yeah, and not only is it oak stake, it's a cheap oak stake. So that's always nice too. 50 hearts is pretty easy to always carry with you. So it's nice to have that. So when the runners here end up teleporting back to Jova in an effort to check more spots and everything, it's going to be real nice having that.
Yeah, 50 the vanilla cost of the oak stake. So is this even randomized?
Right. Yeah, it looks like Sath is doing himself a little bit of grinding here, just outside of Jova.
Yeah, early on you want to try to find a good spot to grind. You're looking for easy enemies to kill to give you a lot of hearts. Sath going for that first screen. This is a pretty solid grind. It's not the best you could find, but Frantic looking for something a little better.
Yeah.
Taking a death here for Frantic, that's not a huge deal.
Yeah, death's really in CV2 just in general, whether it be a randomizer or even if you're doing the casual game, they're really not that punishing for the most part, other than losing hearts after you game over. But an individual death here and there it's nothing really all that bad.
You always want to keep track of how many lives you have left to make sure that you're taking that game over at a bad spot.
Yeah, that's the scariest thing. So see, with Frantic here doing a little bit of a riskier little grind here, checking probably to see how close to level up. That second death, now it starts kind of getting a little bit more scary because you don't want to lose that progress that you're making. And oof, this is a rough area. Oh no,
we have one of the features of the randomizers. You can always do an up and A to go back to the start, and that might have been a good play for Frantic there. You have this guaranteed fairly easy grind at the starting location with the zombies who don't really jump at you or do anything really unusual.
Yeah, Sath looking like he's just collecting up, getting a level up there.
It's generally pretty important to get that first level. It gives you a 25% damage reduction getting level 1.
Going for the dagger, probably going to try to see some shenanigans, I would assume.
Yeah, that gold knife, not a required item, but it can be very useful as you go about to see it. It does 3 hits to every enemy that it hits.
And collecting the cross.
It does weapon damage, so that upgrades as you upgrade your whip.
Yeah. Typically, I know a lot of runners, they like to get to level 3 as quickly as possible and then really what the runners are really wanting to is that first whip upgrade. It just feels so good when you can find that first whip. But looks like we already have a deviation in route choices here.
Yeah, you've got sathdresh trying to go left, and you have Frantic going into the first mansion. Now he's got that oak stake, so he'll be able to check the orb here. So depending on what items they find, it'll make a big difference.
Now that's a tough little swamp here. Sath's trying to get some boosts from this Medusa head to avoid the damage from the mummy, but he's not going to be able to get across this attempt here. Taking the game over and headed back to Jova. Frantic getting the heart, which is going to allow him to take a different path off of the ferryman, which is just past that screen that sathdresh had previously died on in the marsh there.
Yeah, the heart, a very important item. Not only is it required to finish the game, it's one of the 5 Dracula body parts, but it also, like you said, it lets you access that area where Brahms Mansion is, which gives you access to 4 additional checks. So that's a big deal to get early.
Yeah, and Brahms is definitely one of those mansions that is, you hope it's not required early, as it can tend to be one that can just be a destroyer of worlds. Especially,
it can be pretty difficult. In the normal game, it's usually the 3rd mansion you go to, so it's sort of a mid game. So trying to do it early can be pretty tough.
Yeah, and with the randomizer, with the enemies being randomized, you may find yourself in a situation where there are these crazy Medusa heads that take, if you haven't gotten any whip upgrades, they're taking, I believe, 16 or whip hits, and you just can't really do much of anything because they're going to knock you off the stairs in there and they'll respawn. So it's always a fun time when that ends up being one of the things that happens here. Looks like Frantic going back, probably to collect another oak stake, I think would be the main thing here.
Yeah, and he also got a set of 2 laurels from the orb, which generally you're not a big fan of, but in this situation, I think that's pretty good for him because that'll let him get across that swamp. The laurels give you temporary invincibility. That'll be pretty valuable. You saw how much trouble Sath had with that swamp. But Frantic will be able to get across that pretty easily if he uses those laurels.
Yeah, for sure. And Sath taking a couple little baths here. He was feeling a little smelly from what he was doing earlier in that marsh, so just gonna go ahead and just wash off the sadness.
And if anybody has the Sath swim emote, feel free to spam that in chat.
And it looks like Sath had just stepped into Berkeley, which we know what's there because Frantic had just completed it.
Yeah, Berkeley, generally in a casual playthrough, will be the first mansion you go to, and oftentimes in the randomizer as well.
Looks like Frantic's found a really good grind spot here, getting some big hearts from these harpies.
Yeah, I like this play a lot. He's found some pretty weak enemies that'll drop big hearts. This is pretty quick. Getting to level 2 is actually a big deal because that makes you take half damage from enemies. Also gives you greater max hit points. Level 2 is kind of I always like to get that really. It's very cool. Makes you a lot tankier.
Yeah, and being able to kind of face tank your way through a lot of stuff is super helpful at times.
Yeah, even though he's got full hearts here and he's not getting any extra hearts from these enemies, getting that level 2 is a big deal.
Yeah, the XP is just as, if not more important than the currency early game.
And if you're not aware, in Castlevania 2, hearts are both your currency and your experience. So picking up those hearts.
Ooh, Sath a little short on hearts for the heart. Oddly enough, he's going to go ahead and trade 124 of them for 1.
Oh wait, actually I didn't see that. Is that actually might have been a whip upgrade?
Oh, was it?
I missed that when I saw it first. That looked like a whip. Yeah, that's a whip upgrade.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, so the whip upgrade is definitely huge. As you can see, Frantic was able to make it through that marsh because of the whip upgrade. He was able to get rid of those enemies and not attempt to do those damage boosts that Sath was trying to do, and conserving his laurels.
You saw Sath do one of the glitches in this game, a floor drop. If you're on a too high tile and do a whip the frame after you drop off the tile, you can actually drop through the floor, and that can save a lot of time over the course of a run. So we'll probably be seeing our runners do a lot of that as the run goes on.
And Frantic just picked up first crystal from the crystal vendor in, was it Alba? I think is it?
Yep, and you need to get 3 crystals to finish the game. Each time you get a crystal, upgrade your crystal from white to blue to red.
Ooh, another really good grind screen here for Frantic.
He's going to be happy for now with level 2. I think he's got 0.
So another thing that our runners like to get early on, if possible, is some way to break blocks, whether that be the holy water or the nail. And so a lot of the checks are kind of, you'll notice that they're, we have another stake seller. This one highly discounted at 49 hearts instead of 50. There, you'll notice that you want to get that, and it'll actually really change up how the routing goes early game based on when they get that holy water, as neither went all the way because of lack of crystal and lack of holy water, went all the way to the right of the map, which is typically where you would go in a casual playthrough.
We got a question in chat. Are they playing with Diamond Warp? And the answer is no. Diamond Warp is off. There's a feature in the randomizer. If you have, I believe it's both the diamond and the cross, you can warp to a location late in the game instead of warping to the starting location. That's typically turned off. I haven't really seen a lot of races where that feature is turned on, but it's something that is available in the settings. It's looking like early on, Frantic's got about a minute and a half lead at this point.
Yeah. That's the funny thing with randomizers, though, is that, every check that you do different from your opponent has the potential to just swing the game drastically in your favor. So it really is anybody's race until some certain key items are found. Then it's kind of, okay, well, the logic only dictates that there's these next checks that they can even do. So that's why I like the chances of going left and right at the beginning. They can make a huge difference in if hypothetically, if Sath were to get across that marsh and would have gotten, let's say holy water or something on that left side while Frantic was going through all of the right side, only to need the holy water, then go back to the right side, it can make a huge difference in how the different games play out.
Yeah, for sure. And this is what I would call a very closed seed. We haven't gotten any progression items yet.
Yeah.
Really, the only check left that we haven't seen is the free vendor in the town of Algebra, which Frantic is heading toward right now. So that's going to have to be some sort of progression.
Yeah.
Yeah, the route divergence, as one of our chatters is saying, is the beauty of randos. We saw Sath taking the gamble early, trying to go left, and that didn't work out for him, where Frantic took kind of a safer route going right, and he's seeing the advantage of that right now.
Yeah, and then even with that, after Berkeley, Frantic went back to Jova and then went to the left and went across the river. And that could potentially be, imagine had he gone to the right to get this other check that he's now working his way towards with that knowledge of whatever that item might be. Route divergence is 100% it really is the signifier of what is the determining factor of how these randos tend to go. And it's always fun to see how different runners just kind of, you switch that on the fly of what you're wanting to check based off of what you get.
Yeah.
So Sath given the
level 2. and also give the bad news that there's not a good item there.
Yeah, giving the bags to the steak vendor. Sath dropping his laurels right in front of the steak vendor when didn't happen to have the items that he may have wanted.
Here, Frantic guaranteed to get an item that's going to give him some progression here. We'll see what it is. There's a lot of things this could be.
Yes. Depending on what it is, depends on where he's going. A heart.
And it is the heart, which Dan talked about earlier. That gives you access to the Brahms area.
So, is Frantic? Oh, okay. Maybe he's just healing here. I was gonna say, is he thinking of taking the wrong warp and then going to Laruba? Because that would be an interesting development. With laurels, might be able to make it, right?
Yeah, there are a couple of shortcuts in this randomizer. One of the ones is that you can go across the swamp, the right of the town that Frantic was just in. And you can actually go directly to what's normally the last mansion in the game, the Ruba Mansion. But this early in a seed without a lot of offense, it's generally not a great idea. And I like Frantic's play here going to Brahms Mansion.
Definitely, and I think that's a big thing too with the way that randomizers are laid out. There's logic built into it where the heart being one, basically the last check that our runners could have checked prior to going to the next place in this case, which is Brahms. Now, there's going to be something in Brahms that could potentially open up to multiple different paths, or some item of progression that's going to change kind of the route divergence from there.
Yeah, and since these are the only 4 checks in logic, there's guaranteed to be some form of progression, but we'll see what it is. Could be, again, a lot of things. Frantic nicely navigating those blocks. The trick to those is just go. If you hesitate, It makes it much harder.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those spots where it just works, and if you hesitate, then all of a sudden it becomes much more difficult. It's always nice when games, especially when speed running them, they just kind of connect perfectly. All right.
You got the rib for Frantic. That is a required item, but also when you equip the rib, it gives you a shield that blocks fireballs. That has double utility.
Yeah, so it may not be the progression item that he may have wanted, but since it is a required item, it is gonna be at, as I said, required, but also getting that protection, especially from the amount of gargoyles that have been shooting fire. It might be able to get some fireballs blocked, and therefore that little bit of safety is also can be a pretty big changer of things.
Yeah, it makes a big difference with certain enemies. There's only a few enemies that shoot fireballs, but they tend to be the most annoying enemies, like those lizard men and the gargoyles are two of the most annoying enemies.
Yes.
For the randomizer. And that kind of neutralizes them a little bit.
So Frantic taking the death there. I don't know necessarily if it was intentional, but there's going to be a stake seller, or I will say a merchant, I guess, here pretty soon. So with losing some of the hearts upon death could potentially, mean that maybe a little bit of grinding needs to be done. But it looks like they got lucky, and their bronze enemies seem to be cooperating pretty nicely. Being just some of the more easier enemies, so they're not taking too many hits.
And as soon as you say that, we see a spider, which is one of the more annoying enemies on the stairs.
Of course.
Frantic does a great job with that.
Yes. Unfortunately, this game doesn't really have like an axe, which would be perfect for these spiders. The worst part about navigating through Brahms is any enemy that has projectiles or something like the Medusa heads that are moving very quickly or bats that can knock you off the stairs before you can kill them. Because it doesn't matter how much defense that you have, how many levels that you have, if you get knocked off the stairs constantly. Was that a stake, or was that
I hope that was a gold knife, not a stake.
That could be a very, very treacherous situation here. Let's see, maybe we'll see next time in menus. Silver knife, we don't need that.
Yeah, that's the worst item in the game. It's pretty much useless. I've seen a couple times where you can use it, but it's very, very situational. Generally, that's just a zonk.
Yeah, I'm good.
Frantic is going to attempt a 4-drop here. Let's see if he gets it. There it is. And he's going to try... He missed the jump there. That jump could skip a couple screens if you jump in a 3-frame window, but he did not hit it.
So he gets the walk of shame.
Oh, and unfortunately, Sath falling in on the blocks there. It's like he hesitated a little bit. Once you hesitate, you're in big trouble.
All right, and garlic. Oh man. And now we're gonna see some death kill action here. Death is pretty easy in this game. Can be easily stun locked with the gold knife, as you're seeing right here from Frantic. The only downside is that since the gold knife does the damage based off of the whip that Simon's currently carrying, it's going to take quite a few hits here.
Yeah, this is going to take a while. These daggers aren't doing, like you said, they're not doing a lot of damage because he has the second worst whip right now.
And for his efforts, the nail.
Yeah, that was guaranteed to be a progression item. The nail allows you to break blocks that are vertical. So that opens up, I think, 3 checks that you otherwise wouldn't have access to.
Yeah, and he also has garlic, though, too. So that also puts graveyard in play.
Oh, that's right. The garlic puts the 2 graveyards in play, which have 2 items in it. Now, if you drop garlic in either of the 2 graveyards, it spawns an NPC that gives you a free item.
So this is another route diverging choice here that could prove to be very pivotal. Sath working his way to Brahms.
And I think Frantic has opened up his lead a little bit. I think he's probably ahead by about 2 or 3 minutes right now.
Yeah, because Sath still has to get all the way through Brahms, and then he's gonna find that garlic, and he's gonna find the nail, and then depending on which direction Sath goes after that is going to. I mean, it's probably a pretty good chance to determine whether this lead gets closed or if it gets kind of blown wide open. Frantic with the first nail check finds some more laurels.
He's going to buy 2 packs, which will give him 4, which is the maximum that he can hold right now. And those are pretty useful. Those give you temporary invincibility.
Yeah, and it's most notably used to get to Laruba from the marsh, and I mean, especially with the randomizers, the game loves to troll you with the worst possible enemies that just stick to you like glue while you're trying to make it through a marsh.
Taking a death, he's got 1 more life left. Get that floor drop.
Yeah, he doesn't necessarily need the money though, because we know that the silver knife is there.
And that floor drop is sub-pixel dependent. So, but one thing good to know about the subpixel there is when you die, your subpixel gets set to 0, and 0 is always a valid subpixel to do a floor drop. So Sath taking advantage of his knowledge to get that floor drop, showing off his experience.
Yeah, and Sath also takes the walk of shame there. And you'll notice that before they do that floor drop, they're constantly jumping and falling off and jumping back up onto platforms. And that's just setting up that subpixel, as Billick said, so that they can go ahead and perform that floor drop, as there's specific values that allow them to do so.
Right, and there's a lot of known setups for different places in the game where you can do floor drops, so experienced runners will know all the setups for those.
Was that more laurels for Frantic?
It was more laurels, so not exactly what he's looking for there.
So he's got what on this way? He's got graveyard check, and then I think that's it, right? Because I don't think there's any more nail checks going this way, unless he goes to Laruba.
Yeah, there's 2 nail checks on the opposite side, but no more on this side. He's got, like you said, the garlic check.
Looks like he's going to grind up another level here, because he's already capped on currency. So I think that this will probably be the final level that he ends up picking up. Because at a certain point, you're just going to face tank everything anyways. And it looks like Sath is going to take the same path that Frantic is, by heading to the left from Jova. So now if Graveyard Duck location ends up being something of progression, then this was the right choice from both runners. However, if not, then the right choice would have been to go to right of Jova after they got that garlic and the nail to check the different checks that are there. I probably would have done something dumb and gone right, even though I would have hoped for another crystal so that I can get into Rover Mansion right after, because they're still sitting on just the white crystal, and the blue crystal would allow them to get into another mansion. And then I would have hoped that I would have gotten the crystal in Algebra and then just gone right back to Rover. And then if not, I probably would try to go to Laruba and then probably be stuck there for years. Frantic going for another floor drop here. This one can save a decent amount of time. So even if you don't get it within a certain amount of tries, sometimes it is just better to just keep trying.
Yeah, and then he doesn't know what his subpixel is here, so this could take a while. I personally, if I don't get it first try here, I just keep going. You're gonna lose some time here. But he does get it there, so
eventually. So you can see that it does help when you do eventually get it.
We'll see if he does a boost into Laruba here. You can actually boost over the wall at the end of this graveyard. It's actually a glitch in the game. You're not supposed to be able to get over this wall, but the game's code doesn't know where to put you. So if you go over this wall and do a screen transition, it takes you directly to the last mansion.
Ooh, that's such a good setup too.
I missed what item he got there.
He got a crystal, so he does. We do have more progression.
Okay, so that unlocks, as you said, another mansion.
Yeah, I would totally do the boost here. He's got perfect enemies for it. It looks like that's what's coming.
We saw the graveyard.
There it is,
here, which is kind of an inside joke. It's a reference to one of the lines of dialogue in the NPCs. That kind of a mistranslation talks about the graveyard. Oh, and Frantic uses a garlic there. That's not what he wanted to do.
Accidental use of garlic. So if that other check ends up being something of progression, that could be a fatal error.
But our great developer for this randomizer, Blood, Sweat, and Code, put that graveyard duck in the game as sort of an inside joke.
And Frantic going ahead and popping one of those laurels to just get through these enemies. As you can see, it can get quite laggy with some of these enemies. And with these enemies taking, I believe it's 16 whips to take them out right now. Since we still haven't gotten a second whip upgrade, it's definitely something to be done. It looks like Zath is making some good progress though. Coming down here, about to check the graveyard duck for himself.
Yeah, Zath has definitely gained some time here. I'm not a big fan of Frantic farming to level 3 actually there. Level 3 is never really necessary unless you can get it very quickly. I would recommend not doing that. I'm not a big fan of that play, but I think he lost a little bit of time there.
Yeah. That's always the another aspect of these runs that just makes so much of the difference is how risky do you want to be? The weighing of the risk versus reward of every decision that you make in these randomizers can cost you literal minutes of time. Looks like Zath is going to go also for the boost.
Yeah, getting to level 3 I think is the safe play, but I think you don't need that many hearts. He was already at full hearts.
Another first try. Man, if it was only that easy in any percent.
Yeah, those Medusa heads are one of the best enemies to do that boost off of, since they kind of track your movement.
Asking for a friend, what's the sprite limit on the screen at any given point in time?
Definitely getting pretty close to it on Zath's side.
At a whopping 4 frames per second. Castlevania II is the epitome of performance. Oh, I missed the merchant vendor from Frantic. What we got there?
It was another oak stake.
Another oak stake. All right, we've got the laurel check here with laurels. So, not even randomized again. Zath whipping this bat. Life depends on it. Oh, and you guys are in for a treat. Have some, let's see, maybe we'll get a whip upgrade from this orb. Make it a little bit quicker. Yeah, there you go. Another whip
upgrade's pretty big. It doubles her damage from 2 to 4. So I'm sure Frantic was pretty happy to see that.
Yeah, and especially literally at the best time. Because this mini boss fight here, it's just hell. Because it's just RNG. Like right now, Frantic can't do anything but join Camilla here in crying.
Yeah, definitely want to be using your... This is really the place where you want to be using your gold knife to stun lock Carmilla. So maybe Frantic forgetting he had it. Or maybe he doesn't have enough parts, I'm not sure. And by the way, Meg, I rolled the seed, so you can definitely blame me for the seed.
Yeah, I would have had like 700 more Medusa heads had Meg rolled it. Yeah, running the various categories that I did, I hated Camilla. I hate it more than anything in the game. Because if she just wants to body you and make you take, 5 minutes, so be it. And for the efforts, dagger. Well, that would have been useful on that fight, because the runners could do a glitch with the dagger to basically kill any boss or any enemy in one hit. Well, not kill every enemy, but do an obscene amount of damage that will kill most.
Actually, Carmilla is actually immune to the dagger, the regular dagger.
Oh, okay. Sath going with the gold knife, but not checking the orb first. So, could be doing more damage if they just check the orb first.
He is using the stun lock here, which is definitely the play. But yeah, you always want to check that orb in case it's either an oak stake or if the boss has the oak stake, or if the orb has a weapon upgrade. You definitely want to get that first before fighting a boss.
Yeah. Zat's gonna be beating himself once he finishes this fight, and he's rewarded with the.
Yeah, it will definitely dawn on him as soon as he gets that whip upgrade. That I should have done that first. Frantic maintaining a lead here. He's probably still ahead by a couple minutes.
Yeah, it could come down to that garlic check. That garlic check could be key.
Yeah, that could be a problem, especially if there's no garlic until he gets there, or before he gets there. Dropping that garlic accidentally could be a big deal.
If there's only the one garlic on this, out of the checks that they've done, and that spot has, let's say, the holy water, big find.
Holy water unlocks a bunch of checks. It lets you break blocks that are on the floor.
Yeah, and another thing that we really haven't seen is neither of the runners getting any of the clues, which the holy water helps get so many more of them. But the clues can be helpful in the randomizers as well, because they can give you, clues and tips of where items and stuff may end up being. Now, see, here we have a little bit more of a route divergence. We have Sath walking out of Laruba. How do you feel about that play?
I'm not a big fan of this play. I'm not actually sure what he's trying to do here.
Yeah, I'm curious myself where he is wanting to go. Could he be taking out Laruba and then heading left and getting back to Algebra from that route?
He could. It's a viable play. I don't think it's the best play, honestly.
It's gonna be interesting how this plays out. I'm really curious what. Yeah, it looks like that's what's gonna happen.
Now he will get the garlic check first, which if that's something really valuable, could be worth it. We've already saw Frantic has gotten the holy water, which is probably the best item you can get at this point in the seed.
Yeah, as it's gonna allow him to do the other checks in algebra. So, and get the what's a sacred flame. Well, I guess he has the
right. He can get that with the nail because that's a vertical. But the both vendors in algebra have are underneath the floor, so you have to use the holy water to get to them.
Crystal from the garlic. That is huge.
Yeah, the crystal's a pretty big deal. It lets you see, lets you use the tornado warp, which basically unlocks the entire end game using that red crystal.
I feel like this just got a lot more interesting because it's depending on where another garlic is, if there are any, could be huge. How many different places can you get garlic in the game? How many different vendors? Is it 2?
There are 2 in
Yeah, so depending on where the other vendor is, could mean that Frantic may have to do some backtracking, as that crystal is going to be a required item. I always love how you can see the blocks before the screen scrolls down here. But if you walk forward, you just die. Yeah, so a question in the chat. Yeah, the eye reveals clues. Also, it is one of the required items to finish the game, so you still have to have it regardless, as it is one of the pieces of Dracula. Now, the runners do know where every clue is in the game, though, so that doesn't really do too much for them in that regard.
There are a handful of clues that you can actually access with the eye if you don't have any other way to access clues. But since they already have the holy water, they can get any clue already.
Yeah. More laurels. And Frantic gonna do a glitch here. Which is gonna save a considerable amount of time trying to get to the top of this area. And then gonna try, gets a 0 for the floor drops.
Yeah, you can do a double floor drop there. It saves about 20 seconds. It's double frame perfect though, so it's pretty tricky to do.
And Sath entering the same mansion. I think this is the first that they've been in the same place at the same time since the beginning. And I love how this always happens to me too whenever I do these randomizers, is I always get the clues for all the items I already have after I've gotten them,
Yeah, that's pretty typical.
It looks like birds are continuing to be jerks, going ahead and popping Sath into the water. Sacred Flame. I'm always making the double hit. And we got some laurels. And we know we're going to see some Sacred Flame. Frantic attempted to do a floor drop to get out of this mansion quicker. Sath not opting for the warp?
He doesn't have holy water, so he can't do it.
Oh, yeah, because he'd be stuck, right?
Yeah, if you don't have the holy water, you actually get stuck at the top of that warp.
So right there is a really good example of how the randomizer can kind of mess you up, where Sath continuously had those little winged dudes, I don't know what you would call them, spawning. But what Sath did there, it's kind of something subtle that you may not notice if you don't understand how the spawning works in this game. But he left the heart that the enemy dropped on the ground so that it would not respawn. Had he grabbed the heart, the enemy would have continued to respawn, which allowed him to get up those stairs.
There's Sath seeing the useless clue again.
Yeah. Now, where's Frantic going? You think he's going? I don't remember.
He's done the algebra checks yet.
As I say, I don't think. I mean, I don't remember where that garlic was originally either. So if there is not a garlic vendor in algebra, I think that's and things get a little scary.
Yeah, that could be the advantage Sath needs, because Sath, we already know he got that red crystal, which is a required item. If Frantic doesn't get garlic here, he's going to have to come back eventually to this town.
Oof.
Diamond, the second most useless item in the game. Definitely not what you want to see there.
Man, if this comes down to that accidental garlic use, oh man, I'd be so furious.
Yeah, it's always a good idea after you use the garlic to switch to a different item, just so you don't accidentally use it, because it's very easy to hit up and weapon. Accidentally use that garlic.
Yeah, same with oak steaks. I do that with oak steaks all the time. Oh,
it is garlic, so he kind of gets
man,
there.
Gets saved.
And by kind of, I mean that's a massive break.
Yeah, that was absolutely imperative. Because had that not been garlic, been literally anything else,
that's a 2009 financial crisis buyout out there.
So that definitely solidifies the lead that Frantic has at this point.
Wait, did he warp home before he got the garlic, or did he check that?
He checked it. He got it.
Okay, he did check it. Very good.
Yeah. He's just he's healing up here. He's going to teleport back, and then I think all checks are done prior to tornado warp, right? Oh, look at this.
I don't think Frantic has checked upstairs in Alba yet. Sathdresh does get his holy water, so that will help him out. See if he can catch up here.
Yeah, that'll help him out. At this point, since both runners are kind of to know the route that they're on, this is where execution starts to really come into play as far as what's going to determine whether they are making ground on their opponent or not. Sad going upstairs to do the last check.
I think both of the checks in algebra were not required, both of the holy water checks, so...
Correct.
If Sath took a gamble and skipped those, he would have been able to catch up. Looks like he's going to go and check those, which isn't a bad play if you don't know.
Yeah.
The foresight here. That.
The accidental garlic use, so couldn't use the holy water. That's slippery garlic today. And Dracula's ring for Frantic.
Yep, that's a required item, and we are also using one of the flags that gives the ring an additional use. If you equip the ring with this flag equipped, gives you immunity to the swamps.
Yeah, it's such a cool. That's such a cool feature.
Really
yeah, it's such a cool feature. Did the ring even have a purpose in the base game? I don't even remember.
No, other than needing it to finish the game, there wasn't a use of it.
Yeah, being able to do that would have been so much cooler. Just giving everything, two purposes: one to beat the game, and then one, making it more like the, a classic little Metroidvania type deal.
So Frantic with a clear lead here. It's probably still about a minute or two ahead.
Yeah, Sat's gonna find his additional garlic vendor.
And for him, that's not good news because he doesn't need the garlic.
Yeah.
Big Mike saying additional garlic vendor is the name of his ska cover band. I love it.
Nice. That's a beautiful tornado.
Yeah, that's the glitch tornado. If you don't have the vanilla enemies, you'll get the weird tornado sprite.
So, with the run going where it's at, what do you think that Sath needs at this point to be able to come back, other than, let's just say godlike execution to catch up? As far as what I guess where these last pieces are, how could that route really diverge, gamble wise?
Some sort of miracle at this point.
Yeah, and I think the only play would be to just beeline it to Drax Castle, get the checks on the way, and hope that has what you need, which nobody would do, probably.
Not sure. I think Frantic might be in go mode actually.
As I say, I don't know how many parts we had.
I actually wasn't looking at his inventory, but I think he might be in go mode.
6.
Because he did skip those last few checks, so that makes me think he's
yeah.
Which means that really he's
his to lose.
There's really not many ways he can lose at this point.
Maybe taking a death on Drac for some reason.
Yeah, maybe 2 or 3 deaths in Drac at this point.
Yeah, just the run back is pretty brutal. But yeah, he's definitely going for it.
Yeah, and we see his inventory there. He is in go mode. He has all the items he needs to finish the game. And makes a nice 4-drop there.
Yeah. Those are always scarier with randos.
Yeah, you get a weird enemy there. That saves 2 or 3 seconds if you hit that one. They're pretty nice. I think Sath is also in go mode at this point.
Yeah. Because the ring was the last pickup for each of them. And then with Laurel's, Frantic is just able to take, anything that these screens got and just kind of roll through it.
Yeah, it's nice to have a few Laurels for endgame. You can just kind of float through these last few screens without. Let's see if Frantic takes another death. He only has the chain whip here, which isn't necessarily
ideal.
Yeah, he's going to use the glitch there. If you're on a 1 high tile and heal while getting hit by an enemy, it instantly kills you. that can save a few seconds when you're trying to get a health refill.
Beautiful.
But Frantic's got a few options here. He could use the gold knife, which is probably the safest route. He could use the dagger, which is actually can two-shot Drac if you do like a couple frame perfect inputs.
Sath taking a couple dips in the water here. One due to a really annoying spider web, and the other due to haste, maybe.
There's also you can also crit Drac with the holy water. I'm kind of thinking Frantic's probably going to do the gold dagger kill here because it's really safe.
I was to say, yeah, that's what I would do. I'd rather just be safe, because Dracula does a lot of damage if he hits you.
He's actually going to go for the regular dagger here, so let's see if he can hit this. This is a
fancy kill.
Yeah, this is a glitch kill. If you execute this perfectly, the dagger will do 185 damage instead of 2 damage, which will kill Drac in 2 hits.
There's a slight increase.
He's got to get on the correct pixel, and it looks like he's got it.
And
nicely
boom.
done.
That was impressive.
Yeah, good job by Frantic to get that dagger kill.
Just sub 55.
Yeah, get
Great
your GGs out for Frantic. 54-55 is a very solid race time.
That's a great time.
Looks like Sath is going to finish up. He's very close to being done as well.
Yeah, I think is Sath out of laurels, because sometimes these bridge sections can be an absolute pain without.
Yeah, this is a lot easier with
laurels.
laurels. As you saw with Frantic using the laurels. Although you can just use your iframes here. You have about 3 or 4 seconds of iframes after dying. So sometimes that can be the better play.
Yeah, absolutely. And typically, it's just what you want to do is you just want to try to hit a platform and get your feet on solid ground, because the game will spawn you as long as you're on solid ground. So he'll now start at that spearman there and then be able to jump from there. And you can just slowly move your way forward.
Yeah, that was a pretty nasty bridge to do without laurels. With Sath using the iframes of the death get through there.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, is just trying to always make sure that you land on solid ground before you die. Same with like the marshes. If you're going into the marsh, you want to make sure that you're going to make it to some type of solid ground before you die. Oh, that nasty bat knocking him back up. Oh, it's these enemies.
Sath didn't get the 4-drop there, it's sub-pixel dependent, so Sath got I think he had the right input there, he just didn't have the right sub-pixel. He did
have some laurels.
You maybe should have used that on the previous screen, but that comes in handy there.
Sath's showing expert mode on the bridge.
Yeah, he's like, I don't need laurels, I'm just going to go across there.
I'm going to rest on these.
You never want to rest on your laurels.
I always like the last towns in the game, because they're so they're kind of just bleak in that there's like no people. It just feels very ominous as you get closer to Dracula's castle. The theming is just so good.
Yeah, for sure. You can see another cool feature of the randomizer. You get stats after the end of the games. You can see many deaths, kills, and hearts collected. So another neat feature of the randomizer.
Yeah, I've always liked the. You know what I'd like to see, and I put out my commission to Blood, Sweat, and Code. I would love to see some type of like in-game timer that gets adjusted based off the deaths. So like, where you're not just trying, like you try to go through it without like face tanking everything, because you don't want to take a death, because maybe it adds like 5 seconds or something like that to your time per death. And I think that'd be super fun. I mean, I don't know. That's just me.
Could be interesting.
Yeah.
So we're going to see Seth here. He's going to try for what we call the quad drop, where you actually do 4 floor drops back to back to back to back here. If you do,
Ooh, got one.
got the single. And knowing Seth, he's probably going to go for this back up triple here. You can actually do a triple drop. Yeah, he's going to go for it, of course. Oh, we got 2 out of 3. Not bad.
Yeah. It was good enough for. It was good enough for Meatloaf, but not good enough for this
Good
seed.
enough for Meatloaf. Good enough for Seth. But he didn't
Yeah.
pick up this time.
You know, funny story. I had I had seen a picture of Seth from a long time ago, and I had told him that he looked like Meatloaf, and I totally sent him a Photoshop of his face on Meatloaf, and it's absolutely amazing.
Seth's gonna go for the dagger kill as well.
And gets it.
Gets it. Nice. Both runners get the dagger kill. Nice.
Hey.
Love to see it.
Both sub-hour.
Both sub-hour. Great job, runners.
Yeah, that was a good race.
Both runners. Yeah, that was really well executed by both runners.
Basically, just a couple of basically the route divergence right at the beginning. Kind of determining it in most factors there.
Yeah, Seth trying to go left at the start and not being able to get over there early. That was really the difference. And then Frantic kind of held on the whole way. So GG's to Frantic.
Yeah,
to
GG's
Seth as well.
That was some solid Dracula killing. I'm sure he'll be dead forever.
Yeah, there's no chance he'll be coming back to life at any time in near or distant future.
Nope, it's done. Hope you guys enjoyed that. It was the last time you'll ever see a Castlevania. Yep. Yeah, the Belmont clan dies out. That's just it. Well, I think that's going to do it for Billick and myself. Thank you all for having us here today, and enjoy the rest of the marathon.
Yeah, thanks for hosting us. Thanks to our runners for doing a great job of showcasing this great randomizer. Yeah, that was great.